The girl's skirt rode up during the meeting, and the millionaire couldn't look away. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. The girl's skirt rode up during the meeting, and the millionaire couldn't look away. It was supposed to be just another routine business meeting, but something unexpected happened that would change both their lives forever. Let's go back to the beginning, to the moment when everything started to shift. "I'm so sorry again," Emma said, feeling embarrassed as she sat back down. Liam simply smiled, offering a reassuring nod. "No worries," he replied, his voice calm and smooth. "It happens more than you think." The tension in Emma's chest eased slightly, but she still couldn't shake the feeling that she'd made a huge mistake. She had just sat at the wrong table and talked to the wrong guy for what felt like an eternity. But for some reason, she didn't want to leave now. Not when she had already said so much to him. Not when he was actually listening. After all, it wasn't every day that a millionaire treated a mistake with such grace. Liam had that effortless charm. The kind that made her feel like maybe, just maybe, this evening wasn't a total disaster. They resumed their conversation, and before long, Emma found herself laughing. Her nerves began to fade, replaced by a sense of ease she hadn't felt in a long time. They were talking about everything and nothing: art, travel, food, and life in general, when Liam casually mentioned his work in the tech industry. "I run a tech company," he said, a hint of pride in his voice. Emma smiled, trying to hide her own discomfort. "Tech, huh? Like coding and stuff?" she asked, suddenly feeling out of her depth. She wasn't great with computers, and the whole idea of technology always seemed so distant to her. Liam laughed, his eyes twinkling. "Yeah, something like that," he said. "It's a little more complicated, but that's the gist of it." Emma nodded, not fully understanding, but at least pretending to follow along. She was more focused on the way he spoke, his voice warm and engaging, and the way his smile seemed to reach his eyes. He was charming, no doubt about it. As the evening went on, Emma found herself more and more captivated by Liam. Despite his obvious wealth and status, he didn't make her feel small or insignificant. He treated her as if she mattered. And as much as she tried to fight it, she started to feel a connection with him, something that went beyond the surface. "So, tell me more about you," Liam asked, leaning forward slightly, his expression thoughtful. "What do you want out of life, Emma?" She hesitated. The question caught her off guard. She had never really thought about it in those terms. Sure, she had dreams, big ones, actually, but they always felt so far out of reach. She had dreamed of becoming an artist, opening her own gallery, escaping the grind of waitressing. But those dreams seemed more like distant fantasies than real possibilities. "I want to own my own art studio someday," Emma finally said, her voice quieter now, more vulnerable. "But I'm not sure it's ever going to happen." Liam's expression softened, and he looked at her with a kind of understanding she hadn't expected. "Why do you think that?" he asked. "You're already halfway there." Emma blinked in surprise. "What do you mean?" Liam smiled. "You have the passion. That's the hardest part. The rest, it's just a matter of finding the right opportunities." Emma laughed softly. "You make it sound so easy." "It's not easy," Liam said, his voice serious now. "But if you work hard enough, if you don't give up, eventually the pieces will fall into place." Emma studied him for a moment, wondering what it was that made him so confident, so sure of himself. Maybe it was because he had everything: money, success, power. But as she looked at him, she realized it wasn't just those things that made him so magnetic. It was his belief in people, his ability to see potential where others might not. And for the first time in a long while, Emma felt like someone believed in her, too. "Maybe you're right," she said, a smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "Maybe I just need to believe in myself more." They sat there for a few more moments, exchanging stories and laughter. But deep down, Emma knew this wasn't just a chance encounter. Something about this night, this conversation, felt different. As the evening drew to a close, Liam stood up and offered her a warm smile. "It was a pleasure meeting you, Emma," he said, his voice sincere. "I hope we can do this again sometime." Emma nodded, her heart racing. "I'd like that," she said, her voice soft. And as she stepped out of the restaurant, a strange sense of hope filled her chest. Maybe this was the start of something unexpected, something that could change her life forever. The next few days passed in a blur for Emma. Her thoughts kept drifting back to that night with Liam. It wasn't just the elegant restaurant or the unexpected mix-up that made her think about him. It was the way he made her feel like she mattered, like her dreams were possible. She hadn't stopped thinking about his words. "You have the passion. The rest is just a matter of finding the right opportunities." The more she thought about it, the more she realized he was right. She wasn't going to get anywhere just waiting around. So, she took a deep breath and started to put her plans into action, even if it meant taking risks. One afternoon, as she was walking through the city, she received a message that made her pause. It was from Liam. "Hey Emma, I know we talked about the art studio. I might know of a place that could work for you. Can we meet?" Her heart skipped a beat as she read the message. Of course, she agreed. She couldn't pass up an opportunity like this. A few hours later, she found herself standing outside a modern building in the heart of the city, nervously waiting for Liam to arrive. She hadn't expected him to actually help her with her dream. She had thought their connection was just a one-time thing. But here he was, reaching out, wanting to help her. "Hey!" she heard his voice from behind her, and she turned to find him walking toward her, his usual calm smile on his face. "How's it going?" he asked, his voice warm and easy. "Good." "A little nervous," she admitted, smiling back. "This is really happening, isn't it?" Liam nodded, looking around the area. "Yeah, it is. So, this place might not be exactly what you imagined, but it's got potential. Let me show you." As he led her inside, Emma couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. The space was big, open, with large windows letting in plenty of natural light. It wasn't perfect, but it had everything she needed. It was the kind of place that would allow her to bring her art to life. She could see herself working here, teaching art classes, hosting gallery openings. For the first time in a long time, she could see the possibility of it all coming together. "What do you think?" Liam asked, watching her closely. Emma took a deep breath and smiled. "I think this could be the beginning of something big." Liam's smile widened. "I'm glad you like it. And you don't have to worry about the rent for the first few months. I'll take care of that." Emma froze, her heart pounding in her chest. "Wait, what?" Liam chuckled softly. "I know, it sounds crazy, but I want to help you, Emma. You've got talent, and you deserve the chance to make it happen. Think of it as a gift, no strings attached." Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had never imagined that someone like Liam, someone with so much wealth, would be willing to help her in such a way. "You really don't have to do this," she said, her voice filled with disbelief. "I want to," Liam said simply, his gaze steady. "You've got something special, Emma, and I think you should have the chance to show it to the world." She looked at him, speechless for a moment, as the weight of his words sank in. This wasn't just a random act of kindness. He genuinely believed in her. And that made all the difference. Over the next few weeks, Emma worked tirelessly to get the space ready. She painted, organized, and prepared for the grand opening. It wasn't easy, but every time she felt exhausted, she thought back to that night with Liam and the chance he had given her. It kept her going. As the day of the opening arrived, Emma felt a mixture of nerves and excitement. She had worked so hard to get to this point, and now it was finally happening. When the doors opened, people began to trickle in, admiring her art and complimenting her work. She was in awe of how far she had come. As the night wore on, Emma found herself standing by the door, greeting guests, when she spotted Liam. He was standing at the far end of the room, watching her with a proud smile. Her heart skipped a beat as their eyes met across the crowded room. She walked over to him, her voice full of gratitude. "Thank you," she said simply. "For everything." Liam smiled, his eyes warm. "You did all the hard work. I just gave you a push in the right direction." Emma felt a wave of emotion wash over her as she looked at him. He had helped her believe in herself when no one else had, and now she was standing here, at the start of something she had only dreamed about. "I don't know how to repay you," she said softly, her voice full of sincerity. You already have, Liam replied, his tone gentle. By following your dreams. Emma smiled, feeling her heart swell with appreciation. She had started this journey thinking it was just a mistake, a chance encounter. But now, standing in her very own art studio, she knew that sometimes the best things in life happen when you least expect them. Weeks passed, and Emma's art studio slowly became the heart of her world. She spent long hours painting, working on her pieces, and planning exhibitions. Every time she stepped into the space, she felt a sense of purpose, something she hadn't experienced in years. The studio was her dream coming true, and it was all because of Liam. She couldn't help but think about him, how his belief in her had made all the difference. He didn't just give her the space, he gave her the chance to believe in herself. Yet, even with all the success she was starting to experience, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her connection with Liam than she had initially realized. She had started seeing him more often, meeting him for coffee or lunch, discussing art and business. Every time they spent time together, she felt a growing attraction that she couldn't ignore. But Emma was torn. He had been so generous to her, and the last thing she wanted was to complicate things with her feelings. What if he was just being kind? What if he didn't feel the same way? It was a thought she couldn't push aside, no matter how hard she tried. One evening, as the gallery prepared for another opening, Emma found herself alone in the studio, cleaning up the last details before the guests arrived. She was setting up the display when she heard the door open behind her. She turned to find Liam standing there, holding a bouquet of flowers in his hand. "For you," he said with a soft smile, walking toward her. Emma froze for a moment, the flowers a complete surprise. She hadn't expected him to show up with a gift, and it caught her off guard. "Liam, I didn't expect this," she said, her voice shaky as she took the flowers from his hand. "I know it's not much, but I thought you'd like them," Liam said, his eyes gentle as he looked at her. "I've been meaning to do this for a while, Emma." She stared at him for a long moment, the weight of his words sinking in. "You've been meaning to do this?" she asked, her heart pounding in her chest. "Why?" Liam hesitated for a second, his smile faltering slightly as he set the flowers down on the counter. "Because I've been thinking about you, a lot," he said quietly. "And I don't want to hide it anymore. I don't want to pretend I don't feel something when I do." Emma's breath caught in her throat. This was it. "No worries," he replied, his voice calm and smooth. "It happens more than you think." The tension in Emma's chest eased slightly. But she still couldn't shake the feeling that she'd made a huge mistake. She had just sat at the wrong table and talked to the wrong guy for what felt like an eternity. But for some reason she didn't want to leave now. Not when she had already said so much to him. Not when he was actually listening. "I care about you too," she whispered. The words felt like a release, like a weight lifting off her chest. It was the truth, a truth she had been holding inside, afraid to admit. Liam smiled softly, his hand reaching up to gently touch her cheek. "I've wanted to do this for a while," he murmured, his voice low and sincere. Before Emma could respond, Liam leaned in and kissed her gently. It was soft, tender, and full of unspoken emotion. A kiss that said everything they both needed to hear. When they finally pulled away, Emma felt a mix of shock and relief, as if the world had shifted in a way she hadn't expected. "I've wanted to kiss you for so long," Liam said, his breath still warm against her skin. Emma smiled, her heart fluttering. "I think I've wanted that too," she replied, her voice soft but full of certainty. The evening went on, and the gallery opening was a success. But for Emma, the highlight of the night wasn't the art or the praise from the guests. It was the way Liam had looked at her, the way they had finally admitted what had been growing between them. As the night came to a close, they stood outside the studio, the city lights twinkling around them. Liam took Emma's hand, his thumb gently brushing over her knuckles. "So, what now?" Emma asked, looking up at him. Liam grinned, his eyes sparkling with something she couldn't quite place. "Now we take things one step at a time," he said. "But I'm not going anywhere, Emma. I'm in this, for real." Emma's heart swelled with warmth as she squeezed his hand. She had no idea where this journey would take them, but for the first time, she was excited for the future. With Liam by her side, she felt like anything was possible. And that was enough to make her believe in love, in dreams, and in the unexpected connections that change everything. As the weeks passed, Emma and Liam's relationship blossomed in a way neither of them had expected. The connection between them was undeniable, and the more time they spent together, the deeper their bond grew. Emma found herself becoming more comfortable in her own skin, not just because of the success of her art studio, but because of the love and encouragement Liam continuously showed her. They spent quiet evenings together, sharing stories about their pasts, their hopes, and their fears. Liam, who had always been surrounded by luxury and success, was surprisingly down-to-earth and deeply empathetic, and Emma found herself falling for him more with each passing day. Yet, as their relationship progressed, Emma couldn't help but notice a subtle shift in Liam. He was still as supportive as ever, but there were moments when she caught him lost in thought, his gaze distant as if something weighed on his mind. One afternoon, as they were sitting in her studio, Emma decided to ask him about it. "Liam, what's been bothering you?" she asked, her voice gentle but filled with concern. Liam looked at her, a faint smile playing at the corners of his lips, but the sadness in his eyes was unmistakable. "It's nothing," he said, brushing it off. "Just some stuff at work, nothing to worry about." But Emma wasn't convinced. "Liam, you know you can tell me anything," she said softly, placing her hand on his. "I'm here for you, just like you've always been here for me." Liam's eyes softened as he looked at her, and for a moment, he seemed to consider opening up. He let out a deep breath before speaking. Sometimes I feel like I'm trapped in this life I've built for myself," he confessed, his voice tinged with frustration. "I've worked so hard to get where I am, but it doesn't always feel like it's enough. People see the success, the money, the power, but they don't see the pressure that comes with it. And I don't know if I can keep up with it forever." Emma's heart ached as she listened to him. She had never seen Liam so vulnerable, and it made her realize how much he carried on his shoulders. "I had no idea," she whispered, squeezing his hand gently. "You don't have to do this alone, Liam. I'm here, and I want to help you, just like you've helped me." Liam's eyes met hers, his expression softening. "I don't want to drag you into my problems," he said quietly. "You've worked so hard to build something for yourself. I don't want to ruin that." Emma shook her head firmly. "Liam, you could never ruin what we have," she said, her voice full of conviction. "Whatever you're going through, we'll face it together." Liam smiled faintly, the weight on his shoulders easing a little as he looked at her. "I don't deserve you, Emma," he said, his voice almost a whisper. "But I'm so glad I found you." Emma leaned in and kissed him softly, a kiss that conveyed everything they both felt in that moment: support, love, and an unwavering connection. After that conversation, things began to change. Liam started to open up more, sharing his struggles with Emma, and she in turn was always there to listen. Together, they found a way to balance their individual lives while building something even stronger together. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs, and soon, Emma and Liam found themselves facing a new challenge that would test the strength of their relationship. One evening, Liam's phone rang during dinner. He glanced at the screen, his expression tightening. "I have to take this," he said, standing up and walking to the other room. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment when everything could change. "Liam, she started, but he stepped closer, his gaze steady and warm. "Emma, I don't know how this happened, or when it started, but I know I can't ignore it anymore. I care about you, more than I thought I would." The words hit Emma like a wave. She had felt the same way for weeks, but hearing him say it out loud made it all feel real. She reached out and touched his arm, her fingers trembling slightly. "I have to go to the office tonight." Emma's heart sank. She could see the stress in his eyes, the weight of responsibility settling over him once more. "Liam, you don't have to go through this alone," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "I'm here for you. We'll figure this out together." Liam hesitated, clearly torn. He had always kept his personal life separate from his work, but Emma's unwavering support made him reconsider. He reached out and took her hand, his fingers trembling slightly. "I don't know what I'd do without you, Emma," he said softly. Emma smiled, squeezing his hand. "You don't have to do it alone. We're a team, remember?" Liam nodded, the tension in his shoulders easing just a little. It was going to be a tough night, but as long as they had each other, Emma knew they could face anything that came their way. And with that, they took the first step toward overcoming yet another challenge together. The night that followed was long, filled with endless calls and discussions about the merger disaster. Liam had to pull some late hours at the office, working tirelessly to fix what had gone wrong. Emma stayed at the studio, unable to shake off the feeling that Liam needed her more than ever. She couldn't help but feel helpless as she sat alone in the quiet space, her thoughts drifting between her own worries and the man she had come to care for so deeply. It was almost midnight when Liam finally returned, looking exhausted but determined. He stepped into the studio, his eyes searching for Emma. "Hey," he said, his voice hoarse from hours of speaking on the phone. "How's it going?" Emma stood up quickly, a wave of relief washing over her as she rushed to his side. "I was so worried about you," she said softly, wrapping her arms around him. Liam held her close, his body tense but grateful for her warmth. "I know," he said, his voice low. "I didn't want to drag you into this, but things have gotten out of hand." Emma pulled away slightly to look up at him. "Liam, we've been through tough stuff before," she said, her eyes meeting his. "Whatever it is, we'll get through it together." He looked at her, his expression softening. He had always tried to keep his burdens to himself, but Emma's words reminded him that he didn't have to carry everything alone. "You're right," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of gratitude and relief. "I don't know what I'd do without you." She smiled, her heart swelling with affection for him. "You'll never have to find out," she whispered. They spent the next hour sitting together, talking through the issues Liam was facing at work, and discussing how they could move forward. Emma offered him more than just comfort. She gave him practical advice, helping him see things from a different perspective. By the time they were done, the weight on Liam's shoulders had lessened, and for the first time that night, he felt a glimmer of hope. The following morning, Liam was up early, determined to fix things at work. He called a meeting with his team, working out the kinks in the merger and strategizing how to salvage the deal. Emma, who had stayed at the studio, was busy with her art, but couldn't help checking her phone every few minutes, hoping for an update. She knew that Liam was doing his best, but part of her wanted to be there, right beside him, helping him in any way she could. It wasn't until late afternoon that she received a message from Liam. It was short but promising. "We did it. The merger is back on track. I couldn't have done it without you." Emma felt a rush of pride, both for Liam and for herself. She had been there for him, not as someone who fixed everything, but as someone who listened and offered support when he needed it the most. That evening, Liam invited her out for a celebratory dinner. As they sat at a quiet table in a cozy restaurant, he reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "I don't know how to thank you," he said, his voice sincere. "You've been more than just a partner in all of this. You've been my rock." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with emotion. "Liam, you've been there for me too," she said softly. "I wouldn't have gotten this far without you." Their eyes met, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. The challenges they faced were real, but together, they had proven they could overcome anything. After dinner, they walked hand in hand through the city streets, the night air crisp and clear. As they passed a small park, Liam stopped, looking up at the stars. "I've been thinking a lot lately," he said, his voice quiet but full of emotion. "About us, about what's next." Emma looked at him, her heart racing. "What do you mean?" she asked, a little breathless. Liam turned to face her, his eyes filled with determination. "I don't want to keep living in this world where everything is about work, about the next deal, the next project. I want to build something real, something lasting, and I want to do that with you." Emma's breath caught in her throat. Was he saying what she thought he was saying? "Liam, what are you saying?" she asked, her voice trembling. Liam took a deep breath, his hands shaking slightly. "I want to marry you, Emma. I want us to build a life together. Not just a business, not just a studio, a life." Emma stood there in stunned silence, her mind racing. She had always dreamed of something like this, but hearing Liam say it felt surreal. You want to marry me?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Liam smiled, his eyes softening with affection. "I do," he said, taking her hands in his. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she looked at him. This wasn't just a dream, it was happening. "Yes," she said softly, her voice filled with emotion. "Yes, I'll marry you." Liam pulled her into his arms, kissing her gently under the stars. In that moment, Emma knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Their love, their partnership, had already withstood the toughest tests. and now they were ready to take on whatever the future had in store, hand in hand. In the weeks that followed, Emma and Liam's engagement was nothing short of a whirlwind. The excitement of planning their future together consumed their thoughts and conversations, and as the days passed, they grew closer than ever. The studio continued to thrive, with Emma hosting her first official art show, bringing in local artists, and showcasing her own work. Liam was by her side every step of the way, helping her with logistics and offering encouragement. Yet, despite the joy they shared, there was an undeniable weight on Liam's shoulders. It wasn't the wedding preparations or the art studio that troubled him. It was the pressure of his career. Although things had calmed down after the merger incident, the relentless demands of his position as CEO were beginning to take a toll on him. He found himself working longer hours, canceling plans, and feeling more distant from Emma than he had ever intended. Emma noticed the change in him almost immediately. At first, she chalked it up to the stress of the wedding and work, but as weeks went by, she couldn't ignore the sense of distance that had crept into their relationship. She missed the carefree moments they used to share, the easy conversations that had come so naturally. Now, their talks felt strained, and Liam's once open demeanor had become more reserved. One evening, as they sat together at dinner in their favorite restaurant, Emma couldn't hold it in anymore. "Liam, what's going on?" she asked, her voice soft but filled with concern. Liam looked up at her, his expression tired. "What do you mean?" he asked, trying to brush off the concern in her voice. Liam smiled, his eyes softening with affection. "I do," he said, taking her hands in his. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she looked at him. This wasn't just a dream, it was happening. "Yes," she said softly, her voice filled with emotion. "Yes, I'll marry you." Liam pulled her into his arms, kissing her gently under the stars. In that moment, Emma knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. "I don't mean to shut you out. It's just, work's been overwhelming lately. And I guess I've been so focused on making sure everything's perfect for us, for our future, that I didn't realize I was pulling away from you." Emma felt a pang of sympathy in her chest. She knew Liam was doing his best, but the constant stress of his job was clearly weighing on him. "I understand, Liam," she said softly, her voice full of empathy. "But I need you here too. We can't build a life together if we're not there for each other. I need to know you're with me, all the way." Liam nodded, his eyes filled with both gratitude and frustration. I know. I've just been trying to keep it all together. But you're right. I can't keep letting this job take over everything. You deserve more than that. I'll make changes. I promise." Emma squeezed his hand, a small smile tugging at her lips. "I know you will," she said. "We'll do it together, Liam. We'll figure it out." That night, after dinner, they took a long walk through the city streets, the cool night air wrapping around them. Liam seemed more at ease, his shoulders less tense, and Emma couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of hope. They were in this together, and no matter how difficult things got, they would find a way to make it work. As the days passed, Liam made good on his promise. He started delegating more at work, setting boundaries, and making time for Emma. They found a new balance between his career and their personal life, and slowly, things began to feel right again. Emma could see the change in him. He was more present, more engaged, and more committed to their relationship than ever before. They continued to plan their wedding, picking out flowers, choosing a venue, and even discussing their future together beyond the wedding day. Every moment they spent together, whether planning for the wedding or simply enjoying a quiet evening, felt like a step toward the life they had always dreamed of. Then, one evening, as they sat on the balcony of their apartment, Liam turned to her with a thoughtful expression on his face. "Emma," he said quietly, his voice serious, "I've been thinking a lot about us, about what comes next. After the wedding, after everything settles down, what do you want our future to look like?" Emma looked at him, a soft smile playing at the corners of her lips. She had always dreamed of a future filled with love, adventure, and the freedom to pursue her art. But now, as she looked at Liam, she realized that their future together was something even bigger than she had imagined. "I want a future where we both continue to grow, both individually and together," she said, her voice full of determination. "I want a future where we're both chasing our dreams, but always with each other. And I want a family someday. A family built on love, trust, and the foundation we're creating together." Liam's expression softened, and he took her hand in his thumb brushing over her knuckles. "That sounds perfect," he said, his voice filled with warmth. "That's exactly what I want too, and I'll do everything I can to make sure we have that." Emma smiled, feeling a deep sense of contentment settle in her chest. She knew there would still be challenges ahead, but in that moment, as she looked at the man she was about to marry, she felt like they could conquer anything, as long as they were together. The days leading up to the wedding were a whirlwind of preparations. Emma and Liam were deeply immersed in the planning process, with every detail of their big day being carefully curated. From the flowers to the venue, they made decisions together, their teamwork stronger than ever. Their bond had deepened in ways neither of them had imagined when they first met. And now, as they stood on the brink of their wedding day, they both felt an overwhelming sense of excitement and contentment. Despite the stress of wedding preparations, Emma couldn't help but feel incredibly lucky. Liam had truly become her rock, supporting her, encouraging her, and now sharing the excitement of building a future together. Every time she looked at him, she saw not just her fiancé but her best friend, the person she knew she wanted to spend the rest of her life with. It wasn't just about the wedding or the beautiful ceremony. It was about everything they had built together, the trust, the laughter, the love. But even as they celebrated their union and the life ahead, there was one final obstacle to face: the inevitable family gathering. Both Emma and Liam came from families with strong opinions and expectations. While Liam had already spoken to his parents about Emma, he had yet to tell them about their wedding plans. Emma, on the other hand, had never really had the chance to introduce Liam to her family in a way that wasn't rushed or awkward. Now, with the wedding day approaching, they decided it was time to bring their families together. The meeting was set at Liam's family estate, a grand home nestled in the hills. As they arrived, Emma felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She wanted her family to like Liam, to see what she saw in him, and she wanted Liam's family to know just how much he meant to her. They walked up the grand staircase, where Liam's parents were waiting for them. His mother, a poised woman with sharp features, greeted them first, her smile welcoming but reserved. "Emma, it's so nice to finally meet you," she said, her voice soft but formal. Liam's father, a tall man with an air of authority, nodded in greeting as well, his expression unreadable. "Welcome," he said simply. Emma smiled, trying to hide her nerves. "Thank you for having us," she replied. "I'm excited to be here." The evening began with polite conversation, but the tension was palpable. Emma could sense Liam's unease, his usual calm demeanor replaced with a slight tenseness as he glanced at his parents. She could tell this wasn't the first time he had tried to please them, but it didn't feel like this was an easy situation for him. Dinner was served, and as they sat at the long, elegant table, Emma found herself engaging more with Liam's mother, trying to bridge the gap and make her feel at ease. She talked about her art, her studio, and her future plans, hoping to show them that she wasn't just some passing interest in Liam's life, but someone who was deeply committed to him. As the evening wore on, Emma began to relax. She realized that despite the awkwardness, Liam's family wasn't as intimidating as she had initially thought. They just had high standards, and they cared deeply about him. The moment that shifted everything, however, came when Liam's father turned to her, his expression softer than it had been all night. "You know, Liam has always been focused on his career, his business," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "He's never brought someone like you into our lives. I can see why he's so taken with you." Emma blinked, a little taken aback by the comment. "Thank you," she said, her voice quiet but full of appreciation. Liam's father gave her a small nod, then looked at his son. "You've made a good choice, Liam," he said with a rare smile. Liam's shoulders seemed to relax as he looked at Emma, a grateful expression on his face. "Thanks, Dad," he said, his voice sincere. The evening ended on a much lighter note than it had begun. The awkwardness dissipated, and the conversation flowed more easily. Emma felt a sense of relief wash over her, realizing that Liam's family wasn't as hard to win over as she had imagined. As they left the estate, Liam took her hand, his fingers gently brushing over hers. "That wasn't so bad, was it?" he said with a small smile. Emma smiled back, feeling a weight lift off her chest. "No, it wasn't," she said softly. "I think it went well." "I'm proud of you," Liam said, his voice warm with affection. You were amazing. Emma's heart swelled at his words. I was just being myself, she said, squeezing his hand. And you were right, everything worked out. As they walked to the car, Emma couldn't help but feel like they were stepping into the next chapter of their lives. They had come so far together, overcoming challenges, growing stronger, and now, with their family's blessings, they were ready for the future. And with Liam by her side, Emma knew they could face anything that came their way. The wedding day finally arrived, and Emma couldn't believe how far she and Liam had come. The sun was shining brightly over the venue, a beautiful garden estate where friends and family gathered to celebrate the union of two people who had been through so much together. As Emma stood in front of the full-length mirror, adjusting her veil and feeling a mixture of excitement and nerves, she thought back to the moment she first met Liam. She remembered the awkward blind date, the misunderstanding that had led to a beautiful connection, and how she had never expected that one encounter to change her life forever. But now, here she was, about to marry the love of her life. Liam, who had always been supportive, kind, and patient, had shown her what true partnership meant. Together, they had built something incredible: trust, love, and a future they were ready to share. As she stepped into the bridal car, she felt the weight of everything they had been through, the challenges, the triumphs, and the moments that had brought them closer. And with each passing second, the realization that they were about to start this new chapter together filled her with overwhelming joy. The ceremony was simple but beautiful, surrounded by flowers and soft music that set the perfect atmosphere. Liam stood at the altar, looking more handsome than Emma had ever seen him. His eyes filled with love as he waited for her. When Emma walked down the aisle, her heart raced. She could see the joy in Liam's eyes, and it made every moment of their journey together worth it. As they exchanged vows, Emma spoke from the heart, promising to support Liam, to stand by him through every challenge, and to cherish him for the rest of their lives. When it was Liam's turn, he spoke words that left Emma speechless, his voice filled with emotion. Emma, I never thought I would find someone who would understand me, who would stand by me no matter what, but here you are. You've brought light into my life, and I promise to love you, protect you, and grow with you every day for the rest of my life. Those words were all Emma needed to hear. With a tear in her eye, she smiled, knowing this was the start of something beautiful. After exchanging rings, they were pronounced husband and wife, and the crowd erupted into applause. Emma couldn't help but smile as she looked at Liam, feeling a sense of completion she had never known before. Their life together was just beginning, but in that moment, it felt like they had already built everything they needed. The reception was filled with laughter, dancing, and joyous moments. Liam stood at the altar, looking more handsome than Emma had ever seen him, his eyes filled with love as he waited for her. When Emma walked down the aisle, her heart raced. She could see the joy in Liam's eyes, and it made every moment of their journey together worth it. As they exchanged vows, Emma spoke from the heart, promising to support Liam, to stand by him through every challenge, and to cherish him for the rest of their lives. They stood under the stars, hand in hand, looking at the world they were about to build together. This is it, Emma said softly, her voice filled with wonder. We've made it, Liam. Liam smiled and pulled her close, kissing her forehead gently. We've made it, and we're just getting started, he replied. They stood there for a moment, wrapped in each other's arms, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. The road ahead was unknown, but with love as their foundation, Emma knew there was nothing they couldn't overcome. And with that, as they shared one last quiet moment before heading back into the celebration, Emma realized that this was just the beginning of their story. The story of a love that had grown from a simple mistake to a lifetime of happiness. A love that would only get stronger with each passing day. If you enjoy heartwarming and dramatic millionaire stories, this one is sure to captivate you. Follow the journey of Emma, a struggling artist, and Liam, a successful tech millionaire, as they navigate the complexities of love, success, and building a life together. Their story begins with an unexpected meeting that leads to a whirlwind romance, showing that sometimes, love finds you in the most unexpected places. As their relationship deepens, they face challenges that test their commitment, but with every obstacle, their bond grows stronger. Through millionaire stories like this, we witness how love, trust, and support can transform lives. Emma and Liam's relationship is a perfect example of how two people from different worlds can come together and create something beautiful. As their story unfolds, we see them not only overcome personal struggles, but also embrace each other's dreams and ambitions. These millionaire stories are more than just tales of wealth. They are about the power of connection and the resilience of love. Join Emma and Liam as they face their biggest challenge, yet navigating the world of high expectations, family pressures, and the desire to keep their love alive. Their journey is filled with romance, heartache, and the sweet rewards of overcoming adversity together. In the end, this millionaire story reminds us that true love isn't about wealth or status, but about finding someone who truly understands and supports you. Whether it's the quiet moments they share or the grand gestures that change everything, Emma and Liam's love proves that anything is possible when you have someone by your side. Don't miss out on this unforgettable tale of love, ambition, and the magic that happens when two hearts meet in the most unexpected of millionaire stories.